Have you ever had an idea that was so clear it was like a 3D movie? Have you ever told a friend about the idea and they told you, wow, if you could only make that into a business, you would be rich? Sound familiar? Welcome to Knowledge to Currency. I'm your host, Senator Porter, with my co-host, Roosevelt Williams III, and we're here to help you take action. This is free information. We only ask one thing: build a strong foundation and mindset. We have insight to help you get started. Most of us just need a push. What's up? What's up? Episode 38, Knowledge to Currency. I am Senator Porter, and you are?
Roosevelt Williams III.
Thank you. And we have Derek Barksdale here. Welcome to the show.
It is an absolute honor. Thank you.
And we definitely want to thank you for coming on the show today. We want to highlight you as an individual, all the things you do, from being a father, business owner, and just an all-around good person.
Oh, thank you, man.
Appreciate you. And what we do on Knowledge of Currency is we want to basically try to get people to not just only just focus on having one source of income, to try to have more than one source of income, because San Diego's expensive and it costs a lot to live here. So,
I love it.
So you as one person that I know that definitely has done that at a high level. So that's why we're having you on the show today.
Hey, thank you. You know, it took some time and patient persistence, and it definitely grows from there. And it keeps it growing, but you have to get things set up, and it's great that you have a show like this that allows for, the education. So they don't have to wait as long as I did.
No, but you still building and still trying to help others. So that's awesome. Let's discuss some of your businesses. So one of the things, you're a realtor, correct?
That is correct. Been a realtor since 2007. I was actually active duty in the military at the time, and ended up, my wife got her license first. Okay. And we decided, hey, we were going to use it towards investments on the properties that we were owning at the time. And instead of paying a realtor at the time, this percentage to sell, we said, hey, let's just go ahead and get our own real estate license. And she did it. The market crashed literally 6 months later in 2007, as I said. And so then we decided that we were going to do it so that we could help our friends and family members in buying homes. And
that's good.
Yeah, first person I had cried on the doorstep, 34-year-old man. And I realized that was what I needed to get into. And so that's where it all started.
And then your military, was your wife military as well?
She wasn't, no, but she's a hidden hero. She's with me for 19 of those 21 years, so I wouldn't have got as far as I did without her.
So her being your wife makes her the hero, right?
For real.
Dealing with you.
Yeah, she gets even more than the hero status dealing with me.
That's right.
And then how long were you in the military?
So 21 years. I joined delayed entry back in 1989, went to boot camp here in February of 1990 here in San Diego. And over 21 years, I never left San Diego. Now, I did do 7 deployments, spent a lot of time away from San Diego, but I was stationed here. So San Diego is truly home for me now.
Where are you originally from?
Oakland, California.
Oh, man. Okay.
Yeah.
See, his favorite rapper is E40.
Oh,
let you know.
E40, the Yay area.
That's right.
The Yay area.
That's right.
That's awesome. So now San Diego is your new home.
It is, and I love it. I mean, it's called America's finest city, and so the great thing with me being in the military and traveling all around the world, all around our great nation, is I realize this is about as good as it gets. So I'm telling you, man, it really is nice.
Awesome. So for all the haters that talk about California, proof's in the pudding.
That's it. Yeah. Now that is from an environmental standpoint, is from weather, is from just the ambiance around here. Yep. If there was anything I could change, it'd be taxes and some of these laws they have. But overall, we can't have it all, right?
Yeah. And safety for a great place to raise a family.
It is.
All those benefits. Other cities have it too, but this is one of the top for sure. And then I wanted to also discuss what makes your business unique, because I've listened to you speak a couple of times. You don't only do real estate, but you also have property management. You help veterans relocate when they get orders. How did that come about?
Well, yeah, it all kind of evolved. It started off with my passion to serve veterans. I had a humble beginning. I mean, my background, my father's a Hall of Famer in the NBA. He was a celebrity. Everyone thinks, oh, you must have had everything great. If you listen to my voice, I talk a little proper, the hood can't come out from time to time. But I was raised in Montessori schools, and my parents got divorced when I was 4 years old. Give us 4 more years. Next thing you know, I'm in this great opportunity, great location that I'm living in, and then I move into the hood, and I start really living the real life. So I got into some hood things. Fortunately enough, sports were kind of keeping me grounded. But when I got into the military, a lot of the things that could have found myself in bad predicaments. I was fortunate enough to get in the military, and I had some leaders, I had some mentors who saw in me what I didn't know I even had. And so it totally changed me. So I had great success in the military. I became a naval officer, and I was leading people now. And so as I led people, I wanted to lead with that passion to serve them, help them. And when I got out, that passion still came within me, and I wanted to make sure that I built a business that would be able to pay it forward for the people who helped me out. So as I'm helping those individuals through real estate, it's just like not work for me. And so what ultimately happened is I found a lot of people on the fence on home buying because they were like, oh, well, I'm only going to be here for 2 years. And then I was telling them, hey, I was able to build my success through owning multiple properties, having them as rentals, and you could do the same. They were just a little afraid. So I said, well, here's the deal. I'll manage the property for free for you for 3 years after close of escrow, should something happen and stuff, right? Trust the process, trust me. And I started seeing a lot of people start to do it because they're like, okay, you got my back, right? I promise you, I got your back. And so ultimately, we don't advertise our property management hard. We're managing over 250 properties right now. And, with that being said, it's all organic. It's all military. I have a couple civilians that are involved there, good friends and people who just really wanted to use our services. But it started off more philanthropic, where I just wanted to help them get over the hump to make a move. Right. And from there, it just started growing. So we have the property management, then it grew into lending, then it grew into syndications, then it grew into, restaurant businesses. It grew into just photography, videography company, and it just kept going on and on. And so, but it all started from the passion to serve those who serve.
Right. So you got, I call it the virtual integrate, or I can't even say it now. Integration, virtual integration of your business, where you saw that there was a need for other things. How can I make a business out of this for the people I already serve? Yeah, and even make it more I can serve them better.
Exactly.
That's a really successful key for business.
It is, and and I think we were talking about this in the lead-in, is that you can have everything in life that you want if you just help enough other people get what they want, and that's by Zig Ziglar, and it's so true. I was fortunate enough, my father, when I started getting involved, he was a basketball player. He was also really an entrepreneur, more than anything else, and he had bars. He had record companies, he had beer distribution companies, he was a DJ, he was all these different things. And when I say DJ, more of, an online or a voice, specialist. Yeah, exactly. So he was really well known. This was back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s and so forth. And, when I was born in 1970 and was growing up, he got into the philanthropic world. And he owned a company by the name of Save High School Sports that gave back to the Oakland Public School District so they can keep their sports programs together. And that's when I realized, that, hey, I want to be a person that gives back. And, when you're raised in different areas and so forth, it's about, I'm going to get what I get. Get your money, boy. Get it, and then it just didn't, although I was successful in that world and everything, it just didn't feel right. And so now I'm in my sweet spot. It all goes from just paying it forward, helping people out. And next thing you know, it does finally monetize itself, but I don't get into it for monetization typically. Sure. But it works out well.
That's awesome. And then, so let's talk about some of the other businesses that you started when you talk about the lending. So Military Mutual, that's Which part business is that one?
Good question. Military Mutual is a company, founded on the sole principle of giving back to real estate. So it's real estate, property management. Okay. Those are the main key things. So we help buy and sell real estate, and then we help with property management. We just worked with one of my founding advisors, a guy by the name of Andrew Arroyo, and created a merger in so many perspectives for some other aspects for it. So we provide syndication. So we help people with their investments and so forth. And then we ultimately moved into the lending world and stuff. And so that's where Insure Lending came about.
And then lending just happened recently?
So, no. It's funny how, things happen. So back in 2017, 16, 17, I think it was, I was big working with some good friends of mine at the time who did very well from seminars. And, we had VA seminars, taught people about the home loan benefit. And as time moved along, they ultimately ended up moving out of California to go launch their businesses in other places and so forth. And so I felt that there was this void in the seminar area because it all starts with education. What you don't know can hurt you. So I wanted to educate. And what I found is most lenders were the ones that were able to do the education because it was about the benefit. So I said, you know what, I'm going to get, into the lending world so I can get there. Once again, not to monetize, but really to educate first and foremost. And so as I transitioned, I started a company. It was Momentum Mortgage is what it was, keeping with the MM, that we have with Military Mutual. And as time moved along, I wasn't even doing loans. It was just, we came together, did the business, he did the loans, and I was just there feeding things.
Pretty face.
I guess so. That's funny. I like that. But as that moved on, we started having challenges with closing on time because he was just a one-man band. He didn't want to, spread things thin. He was just, hey, let's keep it all in-house. And I don't go that way. I'm always about, expanding as much as we can, providing great customer service. I have something that you say that I can get people to the restaurant, but if the food sucks, they ain't coming back. They ain't coming back. And more importantly, they're going to tell people don't go to that restaurant. But if it's good, they're going to say, hey, keep going. So I have no problem with investing in companies. But so since 2017, I've been in the lending business, and it's been a blessing. The only thing that I will say is I did that one. Then I got into the retail side because that was the wholesale side. Okay, wholesale and retail are different. They are different. When you're on the retail side, you literally have to have the manpower. You have to have funders. You have to have processors. You have to have loan officer assistants. You have to have secretaries. You have to have a huge building because you have this walk-in space. At least that's how it was traditionally known.
Sure.
And as time moved along, through COVID, I got into that, did 1,800 loans in about 18 months. Wow. So we were doing about 100 loans a month. Yeah, it was doing really well. But then when those, when the interest rates started going off, I had to lay people off. Sure. That hurt, man. That hurt because as you could tell, I'm a family oriented guy. So when I was bringing people to the organization, it was like, this is a family member from that point on. And then they were like, okay, well, we got to do layoffs. I'm like, what do you mean layoffs and stuff? Well, what did we talking 1 or 2? They're like, no, 30.
Right.
And I was like, oh, no way. I can't do that. So unfortunately, that kept going on. And so I was like, this isn't for me. Sure. I'm going to look at going back into the wholesale space because I'm 1099ing people now. It's not about hiring or firing people. It's about all of us coming together and doing it. So went through that evolution and then started Insure Lending with my founding advisor, Andrew Arroyo. We're a public company now, so that is very unique. There are only 12 real estate and mortgage companies that do one or the other. We do all of it. So we do real estate, we do lending, we do the syndications, we do property management. And nowhere else is that ever even known. So
and you help military folks.
Amen. Yeah. So, I'm the military arm of it and stuff. So Military Mutual is the way that we do give back to veterans.
And so when my career, obviously I've done lending, and it was sad when I moved here, how many people try to not do VA loans. Push people to another loan, and that's obviously illegal. They shouldn't do that, but because they don't know the product, they're like, "Well, I know FHA,"
man,
and you're like, all you gotta do is hit a different button, and it's the same thing. And they're like, "Oh no, what if I mess something up?" And then on the flip side, or you get a realtor that doesn't understand VA, and then you have a person approved with it, and they're like, "We won't accept it if it's VA."
Man,
So it's crazy, right?
You got my heart beating hard because that, when I talk about passion, that's probably one of the things that I have the most passion about. Mm-hmm. The VA loan is probably the most incredible loan product that you have, okay, that's out there. Correct. There's nothing that can compare. And unfortunately, you have so many people with myths of what the VA loan is and what it isn't and mm-hmm. what you can do with it and what you can't. And then you even have figures that are very well known that have millions of followers that don't understand it, that say, oh, don't wimp out and get a VA loan. And they say, well, why? Oh, there's lots of fees. And they're speaking out of ignorance because they haven't really took the time to learn it. And so what you have is you have a lot of misconceptions of things. And so that's why my educational piece is so critical to getting out and educating, because only less than 15% of veterans have used the VA home loan benefit.
Facts.
And so the problem is that they're getting pushed into these other loan products because of just what you said.
Correct.
Lenders aren't trying to do them harm. They just don't know. So they're like, oh, let's get you into conventional because that's what they know. That happened to me. I was a Frock D5, 1995, bought my first home. And when I went there, they didn't tell me anything about a VA loan. I didn't use my VA loan product. Didn't use Calvet, didn't use anything. It was all conventional, 5% down, and that's all you need. And, fortunately enough, I still own that home. It's probably one of the bigger pieces of my portfolio because of the fact I bought it for $159,000 and it's worth over $750,000.
In San Diego?
Exactly, yeah.
What?
1995, man. So what's crazy is people don't realize if you buy a home right now for $600,000, you could 5 times that in 30 years and it'll be worth $3 million. As the numbers are looking, because you're dealing with compounded interest, not just regular interest that you're getting on it. So that is my passion. And unfortunately, there are so many people that do a disservice to our veterans. And so that's where VAREP comes in. And that's where we ultimately ended up meeting, in depth more often. I've always heard of you. You've been a voice in the community for many, many years. Right. But VAREP brought us together because they're people that see the need to help the veterans and they want to see how they can support it. And that's what VAREP is all about.
What would be something that you would tell like a young soldier, like looking back at yourself right now, they're living here, they got the nice car, the luxury apartment downtown in Little Italy, probably by me, and they're just blowing money. But they could take that money and buy a house, but they don't think they can. What would you say to a young guy like that, or a young person, because it could be a female too?
Well, I would probably say Derek, because that was me. My first car was an IROC Z.
Nice.
Went and I spent more than 50% of my paycheck on this IROC Z. And fortunately enough, like I said, I got married, and my wife was a little more grounded, a little bit more reserved than what I was. I always had big dreams and so forth, but she was the conservative one. And then she ultimately ended up working at a bank. And when she was there, she started seeing people come in. She started seeing profiles of people who had money and found that they were backed by real estate. And so, it is a proven fact from the National Association of Realtors that the homeowner is 45 times greater in net worth than that of a renter.
True.
Over 20 years, okay? So the renter on average only has, I believe it's $2,000 to their name as a renter and net worth, okay? Whereas that of a homeowner is over $745,000.
I believe that.
Yeah, so, the numbers speak for themselves. And, when you say, what would you say? I speak to them all the time at our seminars and things of that nature. And what I typically say is, there's nothing wrong with how you've lived your life. Don't look back and have regrets. What I want you to do is, now that take the information that you have, make informed decisions and set a plan. It really isn't hard. And so many people look at the mountain like, oh my gosh, I got to clean my credit up. I got to start saving. And what you do is, it's just like what they say, eating an elephant. You don't try to take it all in one bite. You eat one bite at a time. I even take that into my mind in business. And when I have all these things to do, just one thing at a time. And we set that blueprint for them and so forth. So it isn't as scary. They know that they have my back, or I have their back. They have my back, and we work together to get it done.
That's awesome. Roseville, you got any questions?
This is phenomenal. Definitely, just inspired by your story. There's a few points, that I definitely took in, with the restaurant analogy, that you shared. You come in one time, you may be a client, but you come again, your family. I also, just want to commend you and say first, thank you for your service.
It's my honor.
That's first and foremost.
Thank you.
And then I appreciate you for, sharing, your long journey to give the shortcut to others. You know that's vital. You know, like a spoon and a fork. You know, sort of say, because you know, you're paying it back. You know, and then you're also paying it forward as well. You know, so I would like you to share more about, you know, level 5 leadership, on how, you know, you're implementing your legacy trust, as we spoke earlier, because I'm inspired and would like to learn more about that as you pay it forward.
Well, you know, like I said, you know, my father was an athlete. He was very well paid. He had a lot of businesses and things of that nature. And ironically enough, I was just talking about this morning. So God must be moving in my life right now, because he didn't have a trust when he passed away. And so it went into probate. And whenever you go into probate, you're immediately making the government your partner on things, right? And your government is going to get paid. Your partner is going to get paid. And then they have dictation as to how you're going to split things up and so forth. So when we talk about a legacy trust, my goal is to take it in our hands, have a really good, you know, understanding with my family and with my wife. Been fortunate enough, I've been married for 31 years now. We both know each other. We know that we're not going to be on this earth forever. But there's a way that we could structure things that our children, their children, and their children's children don't have to go through the things that we went through. So in a legacy trust, what we're doing is we're putting things together so that there are scholarship funds that are in, you know, each of these family generations, as long as they do X, Y, and Z. It's not just, hey, I'm going to give you $1 million when I pass away and stuff because daddy loves you. Well, that $1 million can do them more harm than good if it's not utilized the right way. So what we do is we have it structured so that they can use that money in a correct way that not only helps them, but it helps them help others and helps them help the generations below them. So legacy trust is going to be structured in certain ways that you have certain investments that continue on. The interest and the profits that come from that go into scholarship funds. They go into accounts that help pay for other things that we want as a family for our next generations to have. So, you know, like I said, there was a guy by the name of Donald Williams. He used to work at Vanguard, and he was the one that broke it down to me. And that's where it is. It's all about education. And, you know, I'd probably need another 30 minutes to talk about how that would be structured, but at least that would be something that the people listening to the show could say, legacy trust. I never heard about that. Because I'll tell you, I don't know who the audience is on here, but people of our color don't hear about legacy trust.
Absolutely.
They really don't, you know. And when I start coming into the fold of wealthy people, I start realizing how they handled things, how they handled conflict. You know, I mean, the thing that you'll see with a lot of wealthy people that bring their children in at 12, 13 years old to a board meeting, and they want them to see how the things are transpired. So that if I tell you, well, you know what, Roosevelt, I disagree with how you feel. Okay, instead of you getting upset and saying, you know, hey, what do you mean? You know, blah, 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 and going back, they'll say, well, explain, please. And then it gets broken down. So, you know, people of wealth look at things differently, just like they look at failure differently. Failure is a way to move forward. You know, if you don't fail, you're more than likely not going to be successful in life. So when I heard about the legacy trust, I said, let me look into that. And fortunately enough, it was a brother that taught me about it.
That's dope.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
One question you want me to ask him?
Oh, you know, that, what you call it, that golden age?
Yeah.
You know, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
I watch, you know, a Willy Wonka with my daughter, and I use that analogy with that golden egg.
Yeah.
You could be a good egg or a bad egg. So now she'll be hearing about legacy trust.
Amen.
So, you know, we want to thank you for that, for sharing.
Hey, it's my honor. And yeah, definitely look into it for sure. And if I could be of assistance, I'll definitely be there for you. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
From afar, I could tell you're a great leader. When did you figure out that you could be a leader, or a great leader that you are?
It's not like I self-proclaimed myself as a great leader.
Sure.
I'll go back to this, okay? This is my first business venture. I was living in Davis, California. My mom moved up there. You know, I wasn't going to school at the time. My mom was a little upset with how I was. I was a dropout at 15 and a half years old. I literally lived on my own since I was 13 and a half to 15 and a half, and then ended up moving back in with my mom. And then as I moved back in with my mother, she couldn't handle us for more than like 6 months. And quite frankly, I couldn't handle her and stuff because I was used to being on my own. So fortunate enough, my brother was 8 years older than me. So we decided we were going to go get our own first apartment and stuff, right, together. So he had a job. I had, I think my mom gave me the child support that my father was paying, and I had other things that were going on that made money for me. Mm-hmm. And so we decided to go get an apartment. So we applied for it. Luckily, my brother had decent credit at the time. It went through because they couldn't even use mine. I was only 15, 16 years old. And so long story short, she said, okay, you guys are approved, but unfortunately you can't get the home for, another 2 weeks. And I was like, 2 weeks, we got to move in. I can't live with my mom this much time. And so she said, well, here's the deal. The fact is we just got to get it painted. I said, well, I'll paint it for you. No problem. And she said, she looked and she's like, okay, let's see. So she went into the place and she said, okay, here's the paint, just go ahead and do it. And I've been very meticulous since a very young age. My closet is set up very organized. My desk, wherever I go, is very clean. So I'm very anal on things. My brother's like the exact opposite, but he was a hard worker. So right. I literally started off leadership, leading my brother on, hey, just make sure you get that done. I'll take it there, the prep work, you come in, you get that done, and we'll get it done. So what was crazy about it is we, went to give her back the keys and said, oh, it's painted. She went in, she's like, oh my gosh, this is great. And she said, okay, well, hey, you can move in and here's $250 for you. I was like, well, what's this for? She said, for painting the place. I said, well, do you have any other places that need to be painted?
So you made a business.
So next thing you know, she's like, well, yeah, and these guys that I'm working with aren't even nearly as good as you are. I said, well, how many more do you have? And she had 14 more properties. I said, I got it. So I went to the school and I started going out to the place where no one was going to school. I was like, hey, you ain't even going to school, man. Why don't you go in here? I'll pay you $50. I'll pay you $50. We'll get these things done. And so I ultimately had it. Yeah. So, when it was all said and done, I think I got 100. And then I had 3 people that were, doing it for their 50. And then I was going out getting new businesses and start working it. The only thing is I didn't know how to budget. I was spending everything I had, So that's when it started. And then when I went into boot camp, I ultimately ended up becoming RLCPO. That was the second person in charge. And that was the company commander who saw the leadership ability in me and put me in there. And then I got meritorious promoted out of boot camp. And then when I went to the fleet is what they call it. I just started having, black officers and chiefs who just saw it in me and said, hey man, you need to get prepared. You're going to be an officer one day. Right. And they start letting me know that I could do it, even though I really didn't realize that I could. And then next thing you know, one thing happened after another. And I'd been put into a position. One of my jobs, I was the FIBRON Force Protection Officer. And I think I had over 12,000 people that fell underneath my command at that time for force protection. Wow. And when I look back, I was like, whoa, this is big time leadership right here. Right. You're dealing with multi-million-dollar budgets, you're dealing with life and death, and you're making decisions. And so I treat every decision, I treat every person that I lead as if it is life or death, and that it is a multi-million-dollar budget, even if I'm just leading 3 people or if I'm leading 12,000.
Yeah, and that's what makes an awesome leader, is they're willing to work beside you, not just directing you.
The funny thing is, this is the funny thing, okay? The last event, were you at the lot when we did the lot event? Okay. So when that was done, it was me and Scott Vincent. We were there, and literally we were the last ones there. And so he sees me, I'm, breaking down the backdrop, and, I'm putting things in the box. He's like, you could always tell who's in charge by the one who's left. And, the thing was, I kept letting people, hey, Derek, do you need anything? Man, I got this. Don't worry about it. Let it go. Sure. And so the fact is, a leader isn't the one that's dictating things, okay? Right. The leader is the one that understands, the value that other people bring and put them in positions to do things and provide the resources that they could do it, but at the same time are not, too high on themselves to pull their sleeves up and get to work itself.
Exactly. Yeah, you're not directing people. You want to make that person shine.
Amen. Yeah. And that's what it is. How can I elevate you to the next level so that you could be good, regardless of how it is for me?
Like this guy.
Well, I like you too, man.
You got any big announcements that you'd like to tell the audience of the world?
Yeah, got a few different things coming up. We've mentioned VAREP, so we have an event on the 26th. It's going to be at PSAR in El Cajon, and that's going to be talking about how to build your social media presence. We see that all the time. We have a really, really good instructor who's going to be breaking that down.
Nice.
In ways that it can work, because sometimes you go to the social media classes like, I can't do that. I don't want to do that.
Right.
So she's going to be there, and I think it's going to be a really good one. So if you're in the real estate industry, whether you're a realtor, lender, home warranty service, home inspection service, whatever it is, you're invited there. The other thing we have that night is my VA home buyer success class. That'll be in Chula Vista at my military mutual office, starting at 6 p.m. So that's one that we're going to be doing where we're helping, veterans and their family members with education so that they can understand how to utilize their VA home loan benefit.
Anything else? Or that's it?
I got another couple things, but I'm going to keep it at that. I don't want to confuse the audience.
Okay. You got any questions?
I want to just say, keep inspiring, keep letting your light shine, and, keep living to give, because, people like myself are definitely picking it up. It's not falling on deaf ears.
Well, like I said, if it wasn't for other people helping me out, I wouldn't be in a position to help others. So however I could be of assistance, I'm there for you. My number is 619-254-1496. I am not afraid to pick up the phone and talk to anyone. I don't care who you are, where you come from. I want to be of service.
That's what it's about for sure. I definitely want to say I'm so happy that you came on the episode and we could highlight and give you your flowers. You're tightening the communities out here, so I want to tell you I appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you, and thank you for having me.
No, thank you so much.
That's episode 38.
That's right.
In the books.
Good one, guys.
All right.
That's great.